The contract ripped straight down the middle. Half landed on the polished conference table. The other half drifted to the floor. For 3 full seconds, nobody spoke. 20 people sat frozen inside the boardroom overlooking Victoria Island. Then chaos erupted. Amara, what are you doing? You can't be serious. That agreement took 6 months to negotiate. A senior investor pushed his chair back. Do you have any idea what you're throwing away? Amara Okafor looked at him without blinking. No. The room fell silent again. Then she dropped both pieces of the contract onto the table. What I'm throwing away is disrespect. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The investor's face darkened. You need this deal. No, she replied calmly. You need me. A few people actually gasped. Amara picked up her tablet and turned toward the door. The investor stood abruptly. You'll regret this. She stopped, just for a second. Then she looked over her shoulder. No. Her voice was steady. You think because I'm a Nigerian woman sitting across from wealthy men that I'll accept any condition you're generous enough to offer. The room grew even quieter. But my company was profitable before you walked into my life. She pointed toward the torn contract. And it will still be profitable after you leave it. Then she walked out. Nobody followed her. Except one man. At the far end of the room sat Kang Min-jun, 37 years old. Korean billionaire. Chairman of one of Asia's fastest-growing infrastructure companies. For most of the meeting, he had remained silent. Observing. Listening. Studying. Now he watched Amara disappear beyond the glass doors. And something unfamiliar settled inside him. Interest. Real interest. Not in the deal. Not in the company. In her. If you're enjoying this story already, welcome to Untold Afro-Korean Stories. Take a quick second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us where you're watching from in the comments. Now let's continue. Amara walked through the lobby without slowing down. Outside, Lagos moved exactly as it always did. Cars honked. Street vendors shouted. Traffic crawled. Life continued. Her phone rang before she reached her SUV. She didn't need to check the screen. Ngozi, her best friend, sounded exhausted. You tore the contract, didn't you? Amara sighed. News travels fast. Did you do it? Yes. Ngozi groaned. Oh my God. It was a terrible deal. It was a 50 billion naira deal. It was a terrible 50 billion naira deal. Amara. I'm fine. You always say that. Because I usually am. Ngozi laughed softly. One day somebody is going to challenge you. Amara unlocked her car. Good. The call ended. She drove away, completely unaware that another vehicle had left the building 3 minutes after her. Inside the back seat sat Kang Min-jun. His assistant glanced up from a tablet. Should I continue negotiations with the investor group? No. The assistant frowned. No. Min-jun looked out the window. Arrange a meeting with Amara Okafor. The assistant blinked. The logistics entrepreneur? Yes. Regarding what? Min-jun's gaze remained fixed ahead. I haven't decided yet. The assistant knew better than to ask another question. 3 days later, Amara attended a maritime infrastructure conference at Eco Atlantic. She almost skipped it. Almost. But networking mattered. Even when she hated it. Especially when she hated it. The ballroom buzzed with conversations. Government officials. Business owners. Investors. Consultants. Everyone selling something. Everyone pretending not to. Amara accepted a glass of water from a waiter and immediately spotted 3 competitors across the room. They spotted her too. One of them smiled. The fake kind. She ignored it. Then somebody spoke beside her. You enjoy making enemies. The voice was calm, deep, controlled. She turned and immediately recognized him. The Korean billionaire from the boardroom. Tall, composed, dark suit, sharp eyes. The kind of man who looked like he belonged wherever he happened to be standing. Amara raised an eyebrow. Do I know you? His mouth twitched slightly. Kang Min-jun. She nodded once. The silent observer. I prefer listening. Most billionaires prefer talking. I find it inefficient. That almost made her smile. Almost. What do you want, Mr. Kang? You walked away from 50 billion naira. It wasn't enough. That actually earned a reaction. His eyes narrowed slightly. Not in anger. In curiosity. Interesting answer. It was the correct answer. He studied her for a moment. The silence stretched. Most people became uncomfortable around silence. Amara didn't. Apparently neither did he. Finally he said, "Would you have accepted double?" "No." "Triple?" "No." His expression remained unreadable. "What would you have accepted?" She met his gaze directly. "Respect." For the first time he smiled. A small smile. Brief. Controlled. Dangerous. Something about that smile annoyed her immediately. She couldn't explain why. Perhaps because she noticed it. Perhaps because she wanted to see it again. Neither possibility pleased her. "I have a meeting," she said. "So do I." "Then we're both late." She started walking away. "Amara." She stopped. Not because he said her name. Because of how he said it. Like he intended to remember it. She looked back. "What?" His eyes held hers. For 1 second. Then 2. Then 3. "I think we're going to work together someday." She laughed. Actually laughed. For the first time all week. "That's not happening." "We'll see." "No." The smile returned. "We'll see." Amara shook her head and walked away. She didn't look back. She was proud of that. What she wasn't proud of was thinking about him later that night. Or the following morning. Or 3 days after that. Because she had spent years building a life where nobody occupied space in her head without permission. And somehow, the quiet Korean billionaire had already managed to do exactly that. She just didn't know it yet. And neither of them knew that before the month ended. One phone call would force their worlds together in a way neither could escape. 3 weeks passed. Amara almost forgot about Kang Min-jun. Almost. Then her finance director walked into her office on a Thursday afternoon looking like someone had just delivered terrible news. Which usually meant someone had. "Tell me." Tund closed the door behind him. The port authority delayed approval. Amara's stomach tightened. For how long? They didn't say. She leaned back in her chair. That wasn't good. Not even close. Her company, Velocity Chain Logistics, had spent 8 months preparing for a major expansion. New warehouses, new transport routes, new contracts. Everything depended on the approval. Without it, timelines collapsed. Without timelines, clients became nervous. Without clients, investors started asking dangerous questions. Who delayed it? Tund hesitated. Officially? Yes. No explanation. And unofficially? Tund sighed. Someone is pulling strings. Amara stared out the office window. Lagos stretched endlessly beyond the glass. Busy. Relentless. Competitive. She had spent 10 years fighting for every contract she owned. Nothing had ever been handed to her. Nothing. And now someone wanted to remind her of that. Find out who. We're trying. No. She stood. Try harder. That evening she stayed at the office until almost 9. Reviewing reports. Making calls. Looking for solutions. The problem with success was simple. Everybody celebrated it. Nobody warned you how many people wanted to take it away. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. Almost. Hello. A familiar voice answered. Good evening, Amara. She froze, immediately recognizing him. Kang Min-jun. For reasons she couldn't explain, her pulse reacted before her brain did. How did you get this number? It wasn't difficult. That isn't comforting. No. A pause. Then, would you like the truth? Always. I wanted to speak with you. Something about the directness caught her off guard. Most powerful men played games. Min-jun didn't seem interested in them. What do you want? I heard about the port authority. Her eyes narrowed. How? The same way everyone important heard. That irritated her. Because it meant people were talking. Which meant people were watching. Neither was ideal. And I may know why the approval stalled. Silence. Suddenly she was paying very close attention. What do you know? Not over the phone. Amara laughed softly. Of course. I'll send an address. You assume I'll come. You will. That confidence immediately annoyed her. Good night, Mr. Kang. Good night, Amara. The call ended. She stared at the phone, then immediately hated herself for being curious. 20 minutes later, his message arrived. A restaurant. Victoria Island. Tomorrow. 7 o'clock. No further explanation. No persuasion. No pressure. Just certainty. She hated certainty, at least when it came from other people. The next evening she arrived exactly at 7. Not early. Not late. Exactly on time. Min-jun was already there. Of course he was. He stood when she approached. Not dramatically. Naturally. Like respect wasn't a performance for him. It was habit. You came. She sat down. Don't sound surprised. I'm not. Then don't. A server approached. They ordered. The server left. And suddenly they were alone. Again. Min-jun folded his hands calmly. The approval delay isn't random. I figured that much. A competitor is pressuring officials. Amara's expression hardened. Which competitor? Atlantic Freight Group. She wasn't surprised. Not completely. But hearing it confirmed still made her angry. Atlantic Freight had been chasing her contracts for years. Most recently they'd lost 3 major accounts to Velocity Chain. Apparently they hadn't taken it well. You seem remarkably informed. I invest heavily in information. Convenient. It usually is. Amara studied him. You called me here to tell me this? No. What else? His eyes remained on hers. Steady. Focused. Unervingly attentive. I called you because I believe your company is undervalued. She blinked. That wasn't what she'd expected. What? I reviewed your financials. She almost choked on her water. You what? The public information. His expression remained calm. Mostly. A faint smile appeared. Relax. Nothing illegal. I'm not relaxed. I noticed. For a second, amusement flashed across his face. Then it vanished. What you've built is impressive. The compliment caught her completely off guard. Not because it was flattering. Because it sounded genuine. No agenda. No manipulation. Just fact. Amara wasn't used to that. Especially from men with money. Especially from men like him. Thank you. The words came out quieter than intended. Something shifted in his expression. Recognition. As if he understood that gratitude wasn't easy for her. That annoyed her too. How was he reading her this easily? The food arrived. Conversation continued. 1 hour became 2. Then 3. And somehow neither noticed. They talked about business. Expansion. Leadership. Failure. Risk. For the first time in years, Amara found herself talking to someone who understood what it meant to build something enormous from almost nothing. Not theoretically, practically, painfully. At one point she asked, "Why Nigeria?" Min-jun leaned back slightly. "What do you mean? You could invest anywhere." "I do." "Then why here?" He looked thoughtful. For a moment, then answered honestly. "Because everyone sees the problems. And I prefer opportunities." She nodded slowly. That answer felt real. Not rehearsed. Real. By the time they left, the restaurant was nearly empty. Outside, the Lagos night air wrapped around them. Cars moved past. City lights glowed. The moment should have felt ordinary. Instead it felt strangely important. And neither seemed willing to acknowledge it. Min-jun glanced toward her vehicle. "Your driver." "I drive myself." His eyebrow lifted slightly. "Of course you do. What does that mean?" "It means I should have known." She almost smiled. Almost. Before she could stop herself, she asked, "Do you always analyze everyone?" "No. Just me. Mostly." The answer landed harder than it should have. For a moment neither spoke. Then her phone rang. The screen lit up. Stunned. She answered immediately. "What happened?" The panic in his voice hit instantly. "Amara." Her stomach dropped. "What?" "You need to get to the office." Every instinct sharpened. Why? The expansion documents leaked. Everything inside her went cold. What? Someone posted internal projections online. The world seemed to stop, just for a second, then start moving too fast. How bad? Bad. She closed her eyes briefly. Not now. Not this. Not after everything else. When she opened them again, Min-jun was watching her. Not intrusively, carefully. What happened? He asked. She lowered the phone. Our confidential expansion plans were leaked. For the first time all evening, his expression changed completely. The warmth disappeared. The ease vanished. What remained was something colder, sharper, more dangerous. The expression of a man who was already calculating solutions. Who had access? He asked quietly. Amara shook her head. I don't know. You need to find out. I know. His eyes never left hers. No. His voice was calm, controlled, certain. You need to find out immediately. For reasons she couldn't explain, hearing him say it made the situation feel even more serious. And somewhere deep inside her, a feeling she didn't want to examine began to grow. Because for the first time since this crisis started, she no longer felt completely alone. And that realization scared her almost as much as the leak itself. Amara barely remembered the drive to the office. By the time she arrived, the entire executive floor was still lit. At nearly 11 o'clock at night, that alone told her how bad things were. Nobody stayed this late voluntarily. Not unless something was burning. And right now, her company felt dangerously close to it. The conference room was packed. Tund, the legal team, 2 department heads, her operations director. Everyone looked tense. Everyone stood when she entered. What do we know? No greetings. No small talk. Straight to the problem. Tund handed over a tablet. The documents appeared on 3 industry blogs. She scanned the screen. Her jaw tightened. Projected revenues, expansion routes, warehouse acquisition plans, confidential information, months of work, all exposed. Whoever leaked it knew exactly what they were doing. They weren't trying to destroy the company. Not directly. They were trying to weaken it, create uncertainty, make clients nervous, make investors hesitate. The most dangerous attacks were often the subtle ones. Who had access? Senior management. Anyone else? The legal director spoke. A few consultants. Amara looked around the room. Faces she had trusted. People she had built with. People she had paid well. People who had celebrated milestones beside her. One of them might have betrayed her. The thought made her sick. We start audits immediately. Everyone nodded. No exceptions. She placed the tablet on the table. I don't care who it is. The room became still. If they work for this company, I want them found. Nobody argued. Nobody needed convincing. The meeting lasted almost 3 hours. By the time she finally left, it was after 2 in the morning. She drove home exhausted, angry, frustrated, and strangely distracted, because every few minutes her mind returned to one person. Kang Min-jun. She hated that. Absolutely hated it. The man had somehow become part of her thoughts far too quickly. She didn't like needing advice. She certainly didn't like wanting it. Yet she found herself wondering what he would do, how he would approach the problem, which irritated her even more. At 6:30 that morning her phone buzzed. She groaned, reached for it, and froze. Unknown delivery. She sat up, confused, then walked to the door. A small package sat outside. Nothing fancy, just a simple coffee carrier and a folded note. Her eyebrows lifted. She opened it. The note contained exactly 7 words. For the longest day ahead. Drink this first. M. Amara stared at the handwriting, then stared at the coffee, then stared at the note again. A laugh escaped before she could stop it. Small, unexpected, dangerously genuine. Nobody sent her coffee. People usually sent requests, invoices, problems, complaints. Never coffee. Her phone rang. Gozi. Amara answered. What? You sound happier. I'm not. Liar. Amara rolled her eyes. Why are you calling? Because you've ignored me for 3 days. I've been busy. You've been avoiding questions. That made Amara suspicious. What questions? Ngozi's voice became far too innocent. The Korean billionaire questions. Amara nearly dropped the coffee. There are no Korean billionaire questions. Oh really? Really? So why are you smiling? I'm not smiling. You are. I'm not. You absolutely are. Amara looked toward the note again. Immediately annoyed. Mostly because Ngozi was right. Goodbye, Ngozi. The call ended. Unfortunately, the teasing remained in her head. The next few days became a blur. Investigations, meetings, calls, damage control. The leak continued causing problems. Nothing catastrophic. But tension spread throughout the company. Employees whispered. Clients asked questions. Competitors watched closely. Pressure built. Then came another problem. A much bigger one. Amara was reviewing reports when Tund burst into her office. Actually burst. No knock. No warning. Just panic. Her stomach immediately tightened. What happened? Tund looked pale. We lost the federal transport contract. Silence. Amara slowly lowered the report in her hand. What? The ministry awarded it elsewhere. She stared at him. No. That contract represented nearly 18 months of projected growth. They were supposed to win. Everyone knew it. The numbers supported it. The performance history supported it. The proposal was stronger. So how? Who got it? Tund swallowed. Atlantic Freight. The room seemed to grow smaller. Of course it was them. The same competitor. The same people. The same timing. None of this felt accidental anymore. Not even slightly. Amara stood. Walked to the window. Looked out over Lagos. Traffic moved below. People lived their lives. Meanwhile, someone was systematically attacking everything she had built. The thought made her blood boil. Her phone vibrated. A message appeared. From Kang Min-jun. Just 6 words. Can you meet me tonight? She stared at it. Normally she would have ignored it. Normally she would have insisted on handling everything herself. Normally. But today wasn't normal. Today she was tired. Angry. Frustrated. And dangerously close to carrying too much alone. Her fingers moved before she could overthink. Where? The response came almost instantly. My office. 8 o'clock. She arrived at exactly 8. The building overlooked part of the marina. Elegant. Modern. Quiet. A receptionist escorted her upstairs. When the elevator opened, she found Min-jun standing beside a wall of glass overlooking the city. He turned when she entered. One look at her face. One look. And he knew. We lost the contract. Not a question. A statement. Amara crossed her arms. How did you know? Because Atlantic Freight celebrated 3 hours ago. Her eyes narrowed. You monitor competitors? I monitor threats. Something about that answer felt very Min-jun. Direct. Practical. Dangerously competent. He walked toward a conference table. A file waited there. Already prepared. Already organized. Amara looked at it suspiciously. What is this? Information. Her stomach tightened. What kind of information? His eyes met hers. Calm. Focused. Unwavering. The kind that proves your problems are bigger than a leaked document. A chill moved down her spine. Slowly. What are you talking about? Min-jun opened the file. Photos. Emails. Financial records. Names. Connections. Evidence. Amara's pulse accelerated. The deeper she looked, the worse it became. Someone wasn't merely targeting her company. Someone had been planning it for months. Maybe longer. And for the first time since this nightmare began, she realized she wasn't fighting a business rivalry. She was fighting a deliberate attack. And sitting across from her was the one man who seemed capable of seeing the entire battlefield. Before we continue, if this story is keeping you hooked, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Untold Afro-Korean Stories, and comment below. If you were Amara, Would you trust Kang Min-jun at this point? Your answer might be very different from what happens next. Amara slowly looked up from the file, then directly into Min-jun's eyes, and what she saw there made her heart skip. Because he wasn't surprised. He wasn't worried. He wasn't even angry. He looked like a man preparing for war. Amara stared at him. You knew. Min-jun remained calm. I suspected. You suspected this and didn't tell me? His jaw tightened slightly, the first crack she'd seen all evening. I didn't have proof. You had enough to investigate. I did. The room went quiet. Amara looked back down at the documents. Every page made the situation uglier. Several shell companies connected to Atlantic Freight. Payments moving through unusual channels. Consultants with overlapping contracts. People she had never heard of. People who apparently knew a great deal about her business. This is insane. No. Min-jun's voice was calm. It is organized. That somehow sounded worse. Amara closed the folder. For the first time in years, she felt something unfamiliar. Not fear. Not exactly. Vulnerability. She had always believed hard work could solve almost anything. But hard work couldn't stop someone from attacking you from the shadows. Min-jun studied her carefully. You haven't slept. She looked up. Excuse me? You haven't slept properly in days. I'm fine. No. The word landed softly, firmly. You aren't. Something about hearing it from him irritated her. Because he was right. Again. I didn't come here for therapy. A faint smile touched his mouth. I know. Good. You came here because you're running out of options. That one hit harder. Because it was true. Amara hated truth when it arrived wearing someone else's voice. She walked toward the glass wall overlooking Lagos. The city shimmered below. Millions of people. Millions of stories. And somehow her own life had become more complicated in a few weeks than it had been in years. What do you suggest? The question surprised both of them. She almost never asked for advice. Min-jun noticed. Of course he did. He noticed everything. We fight. She looked back. That's your brilliant strategy? It usually works. Despite everything, she laughed. A real laugh. Short. Unexpected. His expression softened immediately, as if hearing her laugh mattered more than the conversation itself. The realization unsettled her. She quickly looked away. What does fighting look like? His face became serious again. We identify everyone involved. We expose them. We protect your clients. And we make sure this never happens again. Simple. Direct. Confident. The kind of confidence that came from winning more battles than losing. Amara folded her arms. And why exactly are you helping me? There it was. The question she'd been avoiding. His answer came instantly. Because I want to. That's not enough. It is for me. She held his gaze. Neither moved. Neither blinked. The silence stretched. Finally she asked quietly, why me? For the first time since she'd met him, Kang Min-jun looked genuinely caught off guard. Not because he didn't have an answer. Because he had too many. The pause lasted only a few seconds. Yet it felt much longer. You built something extraordinary. Amara frowned. That's your answer? No. His eyes stayed locked on hers. It started there. Something shifted in the room. Subtle. Dangerous. The kind of shift that changed things permanently. Amara felt it immediately, and apparently so did he. Neither acknowledged it. Instead she pointed toward the file. We focus on the problem. Agreed. Professional. Safe. Necessary. Unfortunately, neither of them seemed entirely convinced. The following week became a whirlwind. Investigations intensified. Lawyers got involved. Private analysts reviewed records. Several suspicious connections emerged. And throughout all of it, Min-jun remained present. Not controlling. Not intrusive. Present. Every morning she received updates. Every afternoon she found new resources available. Every evening there was another solution waiting before she even asked. At first she resisted, then tolerated it, then quietly began depending on it. That realization terrified her. One Thursday afternoon, she was reviewing financial projections when her assistant entered, smiling, which immediately made Amara suspicious. What? The assistant placed a small paper bag on her desk. What is this? A delivery. Amara already knew. She opened it. Coffee. Exactly how she liked it. And a note. Again. Eat lunch today. That's an order. She stared at the note, then laughed despite herself. Her assistant looked far too pleased. Don't what? Whatever you're thinking. The assistant grinned. I'm thinking nothing. You're terrible at lying. The grin widened. Amara threw a pen at her. The assistant escaped before it landed. Unfortunately, the smile remained. 3 hours later, her phone rang. Min-jun. She answered. What? You ate lunch? Amara blinked. You called to verify? Yes. That's ridiculous. Did you? She rolled her eyes. Yes. Good. The call ended. Just like that. No goodbye. No explanation. Nothing. Amara stared at her phone, then found herself smiling again, which was becoming a problem. A serious problem. A week later, things became even worse, or better, depending on perspective. A government business gala brought together major investors, executives, and public officials from across Lagos. Attendance wasn't optional. Amara almost skipped it anyway. Unfortunately, her public relations team refused to allow that. You need visibility. I need sleep. You need both. So there she was, standing inside a luxury ballroom, surrounded by politicians and executives, smiling professionally, dying internally. Halfway through the evening, she finally escaped toward a quieter section of the venue. Peace lasted approximately 30 seconds. Then a voice appeared beside her. Running away? She turned, and immediately regretted how happy she felt seeing him. Min-jun looked annoyingly good. Dark suit, relaxed posture, that infuriating calm confidence. Taking a break. You've been hiding for 20 minutes. Her eyes narrowed. Were you timing me? No. A pause. Maybe. She laughed. Again. Far too easily. Something in his expression warmed immediately, as though her laughter was his favorite sound. The realization sent a strange sensation through her chest. Before she could process it, another voice interrupted. Amara. She turned. Adebayo Martins. CEO. Investor. Serial flirt. Persistent nuisance. Exactly the type of man she avoided. His smile appeared instantly. Beautiful as always. Amara internally sighed. Here we go. Good evening, Adebayo. He stepped closer. Too close. You're impossible to reach. That's intentional. He laughed loudly, missing the hint entirely. Unfortunately. Then he placed a hand lightly on her arm. One dinner. Amara immediately stiffened. Across from her, Min-jun's expression didn't change. Not visibly. Yet something cold entered his eyes. Something sharp. Dangerously controlled. Adebayo never noticed. Amara did. And suddenly the room felt very different. Before we continue, make sure you like this video, subscribe to Untold Afro-Korean Stories, and comment below. Do you think Kang Min-jun is already in love with Amara? Or is he still trying to convince himself it's just business? Let us know in the comments. Adebayo kept talking, completely unaware, completely comfortable, completely making a mistake. Because for the first time since she had met him, Amara saw something possessive flash behind Kang Min-jun's calm exterior. And it was becoming increasingly difficult to pretend she didn't like it. Adebayo kept talking, completely unaware, completely comfortable, completely making a mistake. Because for the first time since she had met him, Amara saw something possessive flash behind Kang Min-jun's calm exterior, and it was becoming increasingly difficult to pretend she didn't like it. Adebayo laughed and squeezed her arm lightly. Come on, Amara. One dinner. That's all I'm asking. Amara pulled her arm away. I've said no. You say no to everyone. That's because most people deserve it. Adebayo chuckled. I like a challenge. No. She looked directly at him. You like ignoring boundaries. The smile on his face faltered. Only slightly, but enough. Across from them, Min-jun remained silent, watching, listening, calculating. Adebayo noticed him for the first time. Ah! His smile returned. Mr. Kang. Min-jun nodded politely. Adebayo. Something about the way he said the name felt sharp, controlled, dangerous. The two men shook hands. Briefly, firmly. Neither smiled. Amara immediately understood something. They didn't like each other. Not even a little. Adebayo looked between them, then back at Amara. And suddenly a knowing grin appeared. One she instantly hated. Oh! The word hung in the air. Amara folded her arms. Oh what? Nothing. That meant absolutely something. She could already tell. Adebayo looked at Min-jun, then at her, then laughed. I understand now. You understand what? His grin widened. Why I keep getting rejected. Before either of them could respond, he walked away. Still laughing. Still entirely too pleased with himself. The moment he disappeared into the crowd, silence settled. Amara exhaled. He is exhausting. Agreed. She glanced at Min-jun. His eyes followed Adebayo's retreating figure. The expression on his face was calm. Too calm. Suspiciously calm. You're annoyed. He looked at her. No. You are. No. She raised an eyebrow. You're a terrible liar. To her surprise, he actually laughed. A genuine laugh. Low, brief, real. Changed his entire face. And for one dangerous second, Amara forgot what they were talking about. Then he said quietly, I don't like him. There it was. Simple. Honest. No excuses. No pretending. Just truth. And somehow that affected her more than it should have. Because he touched my arm? The question slipped out before she could stop it. His gaze met hers immediately. Steady. Unwavering. Yes. Her heart stumbled. Just slightly. But enough. The ballroom suddenly felt warmer. Neither looked away. Neither moved. For a second, everything else disappeared. The music. The conversations. The crowd. Just them. Then someone called her name from across the room. The moment shattered instantly. Amara stepped back. Professional mask returning. Dangerously necessary. The rest of the evening passed without incident. Unfortunately, her thoughts did not. Because every time she remembered the conversation, her chest tightened. Every time she remembered the look in his eyes, she felt something shift. And every time she thought about why, she changed the subject in her own head. 3 days later, the investigation exploded. Amara was reviewing client reports when Tund rushed into her office. Again, he really needed to stop doing that. What happened now? Tund looked stunned. Actually stunned. We found him. Amara stood immediately. Who? The leak. Her pulse accelerated. What? The source. Suddenly she wasn't tired anymore. She wasn't distracted anymore. Nothing else mattered. Tell me. Tund placed a file on her desk. A familiar face stared back. Her stomach dropped. No. The word escaped before she could stop it. No. Not him. Anyone but him. Tund nodded grimly. We confirmed it. Amara sat slowly, unable to look away from the photograph. Samuel Ease, Senior Operations Director. 5 years with the company. One of her earliest hires. One of her most trusted executives. A man she had defended repeatedly. A man she considered family. Her chest tightened painfully. You're sure? Completely. The room felt strangely quiet, like the world had pulled away. 5 years. 5 years of trust. 5 years of loyalty. 5 years of lies. Why? Tund looked away. That alone told her she wasn't going to like the answer. He was being paid. The words hit hard. Harder than she expected. Not because of the money. Because of the betrayal. She had spent years building a company culture based on loyalty, belief, trust, and someone sold it. For money. Her phone rang. Min-jun. Of course. She answered immediately. You know. It wasn't a question. No. His voice was calm. I know something happened. She closed her eyes briefly. How was he doing that? Every time. Samuel. Silence. Then, you're sure? Yes. The disappointment in his voice surprised her, because it sounded genuine, as if he hated the betrayal almost as much as she did. When did you find out? 10 minutes ago. Another pause. Then, where are you? My office. I'm coming. The line disconnected. No discussion. No permission requested. Nothing. 35 minutes later, he walked into her office. One look at her face. One look. And he immediately understood. The anger, the disappointment, the hurt, all of it. Neither spoke for several seconds. Finally, he sat across from her. Quietly, not forcing conversation, not offering solutions, just present. For some reason that made everything harder. Because the moment she stopped working, the emotions arrived. I trusted him. Her voice cracked slightly. The sound shocked her. She almost never lost composure. Almost never. He attended my mother's birthday. Min-jun listened. He knew my family. Still he listened. He helped build this company. The silence stretched. Then he spoke softly. That is why it hurts. She looked away immediately, because suddenly her eyes burned. And she refused to cry. Not here. Not now. Not in front of anyone. Especially not him. Yet somehow he knew exactly what she was trying to do. Amara. She didn't answer. Look at me. She still didn't. His voice softened further. You don't have to be strong every second. That nearly broke her. Not because it was dramatic. Because nobody had ever said it before. Not like that. Not when she actually needed to hear it. The room blurred briefly. She blinked hard. Immediately angry at herself. Unfortunately, Min-jun noticed. Of course he did. He always noticed. Slowly he stood, walked around the desk, and placed a hand gently on her shoulder. Nothing more. Just that. Simple. Steady. Supportive. Yet the contact felt devastating. Because for the first time in years, someone wasn't asking anything from her. Someone wasn't depending on her. Someone wasn't taking. They were simply there. For her. And that realization terrified her. Because she was beginning to need him. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, make sure you like this video, subscribe to Untold Afro-Korean Stories, and comment below. What hurts more, losing money or being betrayed by someone you trusted like family? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Amara took a slow breath. Then another. Trying to regain control. Trying to rebuild the walls that suddenly felt weaker than ever. But as Kang Min-jun stood beside her, refusing to leave, refusing to let her carry everything alone, she started realizing something dangerous. The biggest threat to her heart wasn't the sabotage. It wasn't Atlantic freight. It wasn't betrayal. It was the quiet Korean billionaire who kept showing up exactly when she needed him most. And she was running out of reasons to pretend that didn't matter. The biggest threat to her heart wasn't the sabotage. It wasn't Atlantic freight. It wasn't betrayal. It was the quiet Korean billionaire who kept showing up exactly when she needed him most. And she was running out of reasons to pretend that didn't matter. The following week should have been easier. Samuel's confession had been obtained. Evidence had been secured. Lawyers were moving. The company had survived. At least on paper. But Amara quickly discovered something. Recovering from betrayal was harder than recovering from damage. Because every familiar face suddenly raised questions. Every meeting carried doubt. Every promise sounded different. She hated that. More than she hated the leak. More than she hated Atlantic freight. Because trust, once broken, changed everything around it. 3 days later, she was reviewing reports when Gozi arrived unannounced. Which was never a good sign. Her best friend dropped into the chair opposite her desk. You look terrible. Good afternoon to you too. I'm serious. I've been busy. Gozi stared, then laughed. There it is. What? The famous Amara defense. Amara sighed. I don't have time for this. Exactly. Gozi pointed dramatically. That. What? That's the problem. Amara rubbed her temples. Ngozi. No. Her friend leaned forward. You built a company. Yes. You survived betrayal. Yes. You fought off competitors. Yes. You intimidated investors. Amara rolled her eyes. Get to the point. Ngozi smiled. The point is that none of those things scare you. Amara already knew where this conversation was heading. And she didn't like it. Not one bit. Ngozi. The Korean scares you. There it is. There it is. Amara pointed toward the door. Leave. No. Leave. No. Ngozi. Her friend grinned. Were you smiling at your phone yesterday? Amara froze. Fatal mistake. Ngozi immediately sat upright. Oh my God. There is no God in this conversation. Oh my God. Stop saying that. You like him. Amara stood. Goodbye. Ngozi burst out laughing. The sound followed Amara all the way across the office. Unfortunately, so did the accusation. Because lately, she wasn't entirely sure it was wrong. That evening she had dinner with Min-jun. Officially, it was a business meeting. Unofficially, neither of them believed that anymore. They met at a quiet restaurant overlooking the water. No reporters. No executives. No distractions. Just conversation. Dangerous, dangerous conversation. Halfway through dinner, Min-jun set down his glass. You're quieter tonight. Amara looked up. You're observant. Yes. You say that like it's a good thing. It usually is. She shook her head, then asked, do you ever stop analyzing people? No. That sounds exhausting. A faint smile appeared. For other people maybe. And for you. His eyes met hers. Directly. Not when the person is interesting. The answer landed between them. Heavy. Deliberate. Impossible to ignore. Amara looked away first. A fact that irritated her immediately. The conversation shifted. Business. Expansion. Future plans. Safer topics. Until Min-jun asked a question she didn't expect. What happened to your engagement? The silence that followed was immediate. Sharp. Personal. Most people knew better than to ask. Apparently Min-jun wasn't most people. Amara leaned back. You investigate everyone? No. The answer came quickly. Then, I investigated you. For some reason, the honesty made it worse. And better. Simultaneously, she stared at him. You really have no idea how to be normal. No. That actually made her laugh. Again. Far too easily. The laugh faded slowly. Then she answered. He couldn't handle my success. Min-jun said nothing. Simply listened. Which somehow encouraged her to continue. He liked ambition. She looked down briefly. Until it became bigger than his. The memory still hurt. Not because she loved her former fiancé. That pain had faded years ago. But because of what the experience taught her. Or rather, what it convinced her to believe. He wanted someone smaller. Min-jun's expression darkened. He was a fool. The answer came instantly. Without hesitation. Without diplomacy. Without caution. Amara blinked. Then laughed softly. You don't even know him. I know enough. Their eyes met again. And this time neither looked away. The tension stretched. Dangerously. Until a waiter interrupted. Both of them immediately leaned back. The moment shattered. Neither acknowledged it. Neither forgot it. 2 days later, another problem emerged. But this time it wasn't business. It was personal. Amara was leaving the office after dark when she noticed the vehicle. Black SUV. Parked across the street. Watching. The same SUV she'd noticed 2 days earlier. And the day before that. A cold feeling settled in her stomach. Slow. Unpleasant. The SUV remained. Motionless. Waiting. Her driver looked nervous. You've seen it too? He nodded. 3 times now. That was enough. Amara immediately called Min-jun. The phone barely rang. Amara. I think someone is following me. Silence. Then, where are you? The change in his voice was immediate. Sharp. Focused. Dangerous. She gave the location. What happened? She explained. Every detail, every sighting, every concern. When she finished, the silence on the line lasted several seconds. Then, stay where you are. The tone wasn't a suggestion. It was an instruction. One she unexpectedly wanted to follow. I'm serious. So am I. His voice hardened. Stay there. The line disconnected. 25 minutes later, a convoy of black vehicles appeared. Not one. 3. Amara stared. What on earth? The lead vehicle stopped. Min-jun stepped out, looking furious. Actually furious. For the first time since she'd met him. And somehow that frightened her more than the SUV. Because his anger wasn't loud. It was controlled. The most dangerous kind. He approached immediately. Are you okay? The question came before hello. Before anything else. She nodded. I'm fine. His jaw tightened. Fine is not an answer. Something about the intensity caught her off guard. For a second neither moved. Then she said softly, I'm okay. The tension eased slightly. Only slightly. Min-jun turned toward the street. The SUV was gone. Long gone. But the damage remained. His security team began speaking into radios. Coordinating. Investigating. Working. Amara stared at him. You brought security? Obviously. 3 vehicles? Yes. She folded her arms. That's excessive. He looked directly at her. No. The answer was immediate. Absolute. Certain. And for the first time she realized something. If someone threatened her, Kang Min-jun would move mountains to protect her. The realization hit harder than she expected. Because no one had ever protected her before. Not like this. Before we continue, if you're loving the story so far, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to Untold Afro-Korean Stories, and comment below. Is Kang Min-jun being protective? Or is he already completely in love with Amara? Let us know. Min-jun's phone rang. He answered immediately, listened. Then his expression darkened. Even further, which she hadn't thought possible. What is it? She asked. His eyes found hers. Cold. Focused. Uncompromising. The SUV. Her stomach tightened. What about it? A pause. Then 4 words changed everything. We found the owner. And judging by the look on his face, the answer was far worse than either of them expected. And judging by the look on his face, the answer was far worse than either of them expected. Amara's stomach tightened. Who is it? Min-jun ended the call. For a moment he didn't answer, which immediately made her nervous. Min-jun. His eyes met hers. The vehicle belongs to a private security company. She frowned. That's not illegal. No. Then why do you look like that? His jaw tightened. Because the company was hired. The cold feeling returned instantly. Hired by who? A long pause. Then, Atlantic Freight. Silence. The city seemed to disappear around her. Traffic. People. Noise. Everything. Gone. Just those 2 words. Atlantic Freight. Again. Always them. Always connected. Always nearby. Her pulse accelerated. They followed me? Yes. Why? Min-jun looked away briefly. Thinking. Calculating. Then, I don't know. The answer bothered her. Because Min-jun usually knew. Or at least suspected. If he didn't know, the situation was serious. Very serious. He stepped closer. You're not staying alone tonight. Amara blinked. What? His expression remained unchanged. You heard me. I'll be fine. No. The answer arrived instantly. Firm. Absolute. No. Something in his voice made her pause. Not because he sounded controlling. Because he sounded worried. Genuinely worried. For her. And somehow that affected her more than it should have. I can take care of myself. I know. His voice softened. That's not the point. The words settled heavily between them. Because she knew exactly what he meant. He wasn't questioning her strength. He was worried anyway. And that was different. Dangerously different. An hour later she found herself inside one of his properties overlooking the marina. Not because he forced her. Because after everything that had happened, She couldn't think of a convincing reason to refuse. The realization bothered her a lot. The apartment was quiet, elegant, comfortable, not flashy, not what she expected from a billionaire. Min-jun handed her a cup of tea. She accepted it, then immediately raised an eyebrow. "You drink tea?" His mouth twitched. "Occasionally. You seem more like someone who drinks expensive whiskey while staring out windows." To her surprise, he laughed. A real laugh. Again. "I'm learning things about myself." The atmosphere softened. Just slightly. For the first time all evening, they sat across from each other, talking. Not about business. Not about investigations. Not about Atlantic freight. Just talking. Hours passed, without either noticing. At one point Amara found herself telling him stories from childhood. Stories she rarely shared. Stories almost nobody knew. About helping her mother sell goods after school. About studying by generator light during power outages. About dreaming of success long before she knew what it looked like. Min-jun listened carefully, the way he always did. Like every word mattered. Like she mattered. Eventually she stopped speaking. A realization hitting unexpectedly. "I've talked a lot. I know. You usually do all the listening. That's because you're interesting." There he went again, saying things that landed too deeply, too easily, too honestly. She looked away, unfortunately not before noticing his eyes. Watching her. Not casually. Not professionally. Watching her. The silence stretched. Slowly. Dangerously. Then his phone rang. Both of them almost seemed relieved. Almost. He answered. Listened. Then stood. Immediately, Amara's stomach tightened. What happened? His expression hardened. The investigator found something. What? The surveillance wasn't recent. A cold feeling moved through her chest. What does that mean? His eyes locked onto hers. It means they've been watching you for months. The room went completely still. Months. Not days. Not weeks. Months. Suddenly every strange coincidence felt different. Every delay. Every leak. Every obstacle. Months. Her chest tightened. Why? Min-jun slowly exhaled. I think someone wanted access to your company. The answer made sense. Too much sense. And somehow that made it worse. Because this wasn't random. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't personal. It was calculated. Planned. Deliberate. The kind of attack that took patience. Resources. Strategy. Amara sat quietly, trying to process everything. Then another realization hit. One she hadn't considered. What if it isn't just the company? Min-jun frowned. What do you mean? What if they're targeting me? The question lingered. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Because neither of them could confidently dismiss it. For the first time that evening, Min-jun looked genuinely concerned. Not business concerned. Personally concerned. And that distinction mattered. More than either wanted to admit. The next morning began badly. Then somehow became worse. Amara arrived at the office to find reporters outside. Waiting. Cameras ready. Questions prepared. Her stomach immediately sank. What now? Her assistant looked stressed. Very stressed. Terrible sign. Someone leaked another story. Of course they did. What story? The assistant hesitated. That hesitation alone was enough. Amara already knew she wasn't going to like the answer. What story? The media is reporting that your partnership with Kang Min-jun involves a personal relationship. Silence. Pure silence. Amara stared. Then blinked. Then stared again. What? The story is everywhere. Her phone exploded with notifications. Messages. Calls. Emails. Alerts. Questions. Dozens. Hundreds. Possibly thousands. All arriving simultaneously. The article had spread overnight. Industry blogs. Business pages. Social media. Everyone discussing the same thing. The powerful Nigerian entrepreneur. The Korean billionaire investor. The alleged relationship. The alleged favoritism. The alleged conflict of interest. Amara felt anger rise instantly. Hot. Sharp. Immediate. Someone was trying to destroy her credibility. Again. Not her company. Her. Personally. And this time it felt vicious. She grabbed her phone. Dialed Min-jun. He answered immediately, as though he'd been expecting it. You've seen it. Not a question. A statement. Yes. His voice remained calm. Too calm. We'll handle it. We. Yes. The certainty in that single word hit her unexpectedly. Not I. We. The line between them was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Dangerously difficult. Min-jun. Yes. She hesitated. Just for a moment. Then asked quietly, Are they wrong? Silence. A long silence. Long enough to matter. Long enough to change everything. Her heart began beating faster. Because suddenly this wasn't about reporters anymore. Or blogs. Or rumors. It was about the answer. His answer. The answer she'd been avoiding for weeks. Finally he spoke. His voice lower than before. More personal. More honest. No. The word hit like a shockwave. Amara closed her eyes briefly. Because deep down, she already knew. And hearing him say it aloud changed something between them forever. Before we continue, if this story is pulling you in, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Untold Afro-Korean Stories, and comment below. Should Amara finally admit what she feels, or should she keep protecting her heart? We read your comments every day. When she opened her eyes again, her pulse was racing. The city outside continued moving. Traffic, business, life. But none of it seemed important anymore. Because for the first time, Kang Min-jun had stopped hiding. And the terrifying part wasn't that he had feelings for her. The terrifying part was that she wasn't sure she wanted him to stop. The terrifying part wasn't that he had feelings for her. The terrifying part was that she wasn't sure she wanted him to stop. Amara sat in her office for nearly 10 minutes after the call ended. Doing absolutely nothing. Which was unusual. She was always doing something. Working. Planning. Fixing. Moving. But now she simply sat there. Staring at the city. Thinking about one word. No. Not the rumor. Not the accusation. Not the scandal. His answer. No. They were not wrong. The words kept replaying. Again. 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 Her phone buzzed. Then buzzed again. Then again. Reporters. Executives. Investors. Friends. Everybody wanted answers. Unfortunately, Amara had questions of her own. Questions she wasn't ready to face. The door opened. Ngozi entered. One look at Amara's face. And she immediately froze. Oh! Amara groaned. Not you too. Oh! Ngozi. Oh my God. Amara dropped her head onto the desk. This was going to be unbearable. Her friend sat down, looking entirely too excited. He finally said it. Amara looked up slowly. How do you know? Ngozi pointed at her face. Because you look like someone just confessed. The silence answered for her. Ngozi practically levitated out of her chair. He confessed. No. He absolutely confessed. It wasn't technically a confession. What did he say? Amara regretted answering immediately. He said the rumors weren't wrong. Ngozi screamed. Actually screamed. Amara immediately pointed toward the door. Leave. No. Leave. No. Ngozi. Her friend looked delighted. Completely delighted. Do you know how long I've waited for this? I hate you. No, you don't. Unfortunately, she was right. The next few hours became chaos. The story continued spreading. Media outlets wanted comments. Business analysts debated. Social media exploded. Some people supported her. Others criticized. Many simply speculated. Amara hated all of it. By evening she was exhausted. Mentally, emotionally, physically. Then Min-jun appeared. No announcement. No warning. Just a knock on the office door. Followed by his entrance. Immediately everything felt different. The room. The air. Her heartbeat. All different. Because now she knew. And he knew she knew. There was no hiding place anymore. No comfortable ambiguity. No pretending. Just truth. Dangerous truth. Min-jun closed the door behind him. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then he asked quietly, "How bad?" She laughed softly. "Which part?" "The media. The media is manageable." His eyes remained on hers. "The other part." There it was. Direct. As always, Amara folded her arms, suddenly aware of every heartbeat, every breath, every second. "What exactly is the other part?" His expression softened. "Just slightly." "You know." Unfortunately, she did. The silence stretched. Long, heavy, meaningful. Finally she looked away, the first to surrender. Again, a fact she hated. "I don't know what to do with this." The admission slipped out before she could stop it. Min-jun remained quiet, listening, waiting, giving her room. She appreciated that, more than she wanted to admit. "I built my entire life around not needing anyone." The words came slowly, carefully, honestly. "And now," she looked up, directly at him. "And now you're here." Something changed in his eyes. Something powerful. Something unguarded. For the first time. Not the billionaire. Not the strategist. Not the businessman. Just the man. The man who cared. The man who had been patient. The man who had been waiting. His voice lowered. "Do you know how hard that has been?" Her pulse accelerated. "What?" "Waiting." The answer landed hard. Very hard. He took a slow breath. Then another, as though choosing every word carefully. "I wanted to tell you weeks ago." Amara couldn't look away. Neither could he. "But you weren't ready." The honesty hurt, because it was true. She wasn't ready. Maybe she still wasn't. And yet, something inside her wanted to be. Min-jun stepped closer. Not enough to touch. Just enough to matter. "You were carrying too much." His voice was calm, gentle, certain. "I didn't want to become another burden." The words hit somewhere deep, a place she rarely let anyone reach. Because every relationship in her past had eventually demanded something. Time, energy, sacrifice, compromise, always something. But Min-jun, he kept showing up without asking for anything. And that scared her more than anything else. Because it felt real, dangerously real. Her phone suddenly rang. The interruption almost felt cruel. Neither moved. Neither looked away. Eventually she answered. Tunned. His voice sounded panicked. Immediately panicked. Terrible sign. "Amara." Her stomach dropped. "What happened?" "You need to get here." "I'm already here." "No." His voice shook. "The warehouse." Every muscle in her body tightened. "What about it?" Silence. Then, "There's been an accident." The room instantly changed. Everything personal vanished. Everything emotional disappeared. Business mode returned. Fast, sharp, necessary. "What kind of accident?" Another pause. Then the words arrived. And everything stopped. "A fire." The drive to the warehouse felt endless. Amara sat in the passenger seat. Min-jun driving. Neither speaking much. Both focused. Both worried. The glow became visible before they arrived. Orange against the night sky. Her stomach sank. "No." The word escaped automatically. "No. Not this. Not now. Not after everything else." When they arrived, emergency crews were already there. Firefighters. Police. Security personnel. Chaos. Pure chaos. Amara jumped out before the vehicle stopped completely. Smoke filled the air. Employees stood outside. Some crying. Some calling family. Some simply staring. The warehouse represented years of work. Years. And now flames were consuming part of it. Min-jun appeared beside her. Steady. Present. Protective. Always there. A firefighter approached. "Are there injuries?" The question was the only thing that mattered. Nothing else. Not the building. Not the money. Not the equipment. People. Only people. The firefighter nodded. "Several minor injuries." Relief flooded through her immediately. "Minor. Thank God. Minor." Then another official approached. His expression grim. Very grim. Amara immediately noticed. And hated it. "What?" The official hesitated. Terrible sign. Then, we found evidence. Her chest tightened. What kind of evidence? The answer arrived quietly, but it hit like an explosion. Evidence of arson. Silence. Complete silence. Amara stared, then slowly turned toward the burning warehouse. The flames reflected in her eyes. Arson. Not an accident. Not bad luck. Not coincidence. Someone had set the fire. Someone wanted to destroy her. And suddenly every attack, every leak, every rumor, every setback, connected. Before we continue, if you're completely hooked on this story, hit the like button, subscribe to Untold Afro-Korean Stories, and comment below. Who do you think is behind everything? Atlantic Freight? Or someone even closer to Amara? Tell us your theory. Amara stood frozen, watching years of hard work burn. Then she felt something. A hand. Warm. Steady. Certain. Min-jun's hand finding hers. Not for business. Not for comfort. Not accidentally. Deliberately. She looked at him. The fire reflected in his eyes too. And what she saw there stole her breath. Because Kang Min-jun wasn't looking at the warehouse. He wasn't looking at the damage. He wasn't looking at the investigation. He was looking at her. As if the only thing he cared about saving tonight was her. Because Kang Min-jun wasn't looking at the warehouse. He wasn't looking at the damage. He wasn't looking at the investigation. He was looking at her. As if the only thing he cared about saving tonight was her. The fire burned for hours. Long after midnight. Long after reporters arrived. Long after emergency crews secured the scene. Amara remained there, watching, thinking, trying to understand how her life had become a battlefield. The warehouse wasn't just a building. It represented years of sacrifice, years of risk, years of refusing to quit. And someone had tried to destroy it. Deliberately, the realization settled heavily inside her. Beside her, Min-jun stayed. He took calls, spoke with investigators, coordinated security, handled problems, yet somehow never moved too far away. Never far enough that she couldn't see him. Never far enough that she felt alone. At 2:17 a.m., an investigator approached. His face was serious. Very serious. We found something. Amara immediately stood. What? The investigator handed over a small evidence bag. Inside was a partially melted access card. Employee identification. The card belonged to someone she knew. Someone she trusted. Again, her stomach dropped. No. She stared at the name, then looked up. No. The investigator nodded slowly. We're still verifying. But Amara already knew. The same feeling she'd had with Samuel. That awful certainty. The card belonged to Victor, her operations supervisor. A man who had worked with her for nearly 4 years. Another trusted employee. Another betrayal. Or so it appeared. Min-jun stepped beside her. Took one look. And immediately understood. This doesn't make sense. She looked at him. You know him? No. Then how would you know? His eyes narrowed slightly. Because people rarely become careless when they're careful enough to commit arson. The comment caught the investigator's attention. Caught hers too. Because it was true. If Victor had planned this, why leave evidence behind? Why leave something so obvious? The investigator frowned. You think he was framed? Min-jun's answer came instantly. Possibly. Amara looked back at the evidence bag. Hope appeared. Tiny. Fragile. But there. Because she didn't want another betrayal. She wasn't sure she could handle another one. The following morning brought even worse news. The warehouse fire dominated headlines. Everywhere. Television. Business publications. Social media. Everyone was talking about it. And everyone was asking the same question. Was this connected to the previous attacks? Amara already knew the answer. Yes. Absolutely yes. Someone was escalating. Someone wasn't finished. And that terrified her. By noon, she was sitting inside a conference room with lawyers, insurers, executives, and investigators. Everyone talking. Everyone analyzing. Everyone planning. The meeting had been going for nearly an hour when Min-jun entered. Late, which never happened. Immediately she noticed something. His expression. Cold, focused, dangerously calm. The room fell silent. Because everyone noticed. Not just her. Everyone. Min-jun placed a folder on the table. Then looked directly at Amara. "We found something." The atmosphere changed instantly. "What?" He opened the folder. Several photographs. Financial records. Property documents. Names. Connections. Evidence. Lots of evidence. The room became very quiet. Because suddenly everything made sense. Samuel. The surveillance. The media leaks. The warehouse fire. All connected. All leading back to one person. A man named Chief Adeyemi Balogun. One of the largest logistics investors in West Africa. Powerful. Influential. Respected. And apparently, ruthless. Amara stared. "Why?" Min-jun folded his arms. "Because he tried to buy your company 3 years ago." The memory returned immediately. A meeting. An offer. A rejection. She had turned him down. Politely. Firmly. Completely. The acquisition would have ended her independence. So she refused. And apparently, he never forgot. Her stomach tightened. "All this because I said no?" "No." Min-jun's eyes hardened. "All this because powerful people sometimes believe they own outcomes." The room remained silent. Nobody disagreed. Because everyone understood. The evidence was overwhelming. Transactions. Communications. Witness statements. Everything connected back to Balogun. Finally, after months of attacks, they had an answer. Unfortunately, answers create enemies. And enemies create consequences. 3 days later, Balogun was officially named in multiple investigations. The business world exploded. News channels covered the story continuously. Investors panicked. Executives distanced themselves. All while Amara tried to keep her company running. Tried being the important word. Because exhaustion was catching up. Fast. She hadn't slept properly in days. Hadn't rested in weeks. And everyone could see it. Especially Min-jun. One evening he arrived at her office carrying food. Actual food. Not coffee. Not documents. Food. Amara stared. "What is this?" "Dinner." "I'm busy." "I know." She sighed. "Min-jun, you haven't eaten." "I had breakfast." His expression became completely unimpressed. "What time was breakfast?" She checked her watch, then immediately regretted it. Because breakfast had been 11 hours ago. His eyebrow rose. Exactly. She hated when he was right, which was becoming far too frequent. Eventually she surrendered. The two of them sat together in her office, eating quietly, for the first few minutes. Then conversation started, and somehow became something deeper, more personal, more honest. At one point Min-jun looked out the window, then asked quietly, "When was the last time you were happy?" The question surprised her. Completely. She thought about it, really thought about it, and discovered she didn't have an immediate answer. That bothered her. A lot. "I don't know." His expression softened. That answer clearly affected him. "What about you?" she asked. "When was the last time you were happy?" The answer came immediately. Too immediately. "You." She froze. The room froze. Everything froze. Because he hadn't even hesitated. Not for 1 second. Just, "You." The words settled between them. Powerful. Honest. Impossible to misunderstand. Amara's pulse accelerated. Dangerously. Min-jun realized what he'd said. Yet surprisingly, he didn't take it back. Didn't explain. Didn't retreat. Just held her gaze. Completely unafraid. And for the first time, she realized she was tired of being afraid too. Very slowly, she stood. Walked around the desk. Stopped in front of him. Neither spoke. Neither looked away. The silence said enough. Then she reached out. Touched his face. Gently. The smallest movement. Yet it changed everything. Min-jun inhaled sharply. His eyes never left hers. Not once. "Amara." The way he said her name felt different, like a confession, like a promise, like hope, and suddenly she knew. Not maybe, not possibly, knew. She loved him. The realization arrived with terrifying clarity. Not because he protected her. Not because he helped her. Not because he stayed. Because somewhere along the way, he became home. Before we continue, if you're loving this story, make sure you like this video, subscribe to Untold Afro-Korean Stories, and comment below. At what moment do you think Amara truly fell in love with Kang Min-jun? She opened her mouth, ready to finally say it, ready to stop running, ready to stop hiding, ready to tell him the truth. Then her phone rang. Both of them ignored it. The phone rang again, ignored, then again, and again, and again. Something was wrong. Amara answered. Tun's voice sounded terrified, more terrified than she had ever heard. Amara. Her stomach dropped instantly. What happened? The answer shattered the moment completely. You need to turn on the news. Every muscle in her body tightened. Why? Silence. Then 5 words. 5 devastating words. They just arrested Victor. They just arrested Victor. The words hit like a hammer. Amara's heart dropped instantly. What? Across from her, Min-jun was already standing. His expression changed immediately. Focused, alert, dangerously calm. Tund, what happened? Amara demanded. I don't know everything yet. His voice shook. The police just took him in. On what charge? Arson. The room went silent. Amara closed her eyes briefly. No, something wasn't right. Not again. Not Victor. The call ended. Neither she nor Min-jun spoke for several seconds. Then he picked up his jacket. We're going. The drive felt endless. Every minute stretched. Every traffic light felt personal. Every second mattered. When they finally arrived at the police station, reporters had already gathered outside. Cameras, microphones, questions, chaos. The moment Amara stepped out of the vehicle, reporters rushed forward. Miss Okafor, do you believe Victor is guilty? Was he involved in the warehouse fire? Did your company ignore warning signs? Is this connected to the investor scandal? Questions exploded from every direction. Then suddenly they stopped. Not because they wanted to, because Min-jun stepped forward. The crowd instinctively moved back. Not much, just enough. The kind of reaction powerful people create without trying. His hand settled lightly against the middle of Amara's back. Steady, protective, and together they entered the station. An hour later they finally sat across from Victor. The man looked exhausted, angry, terrified, and completely broken. The moment he saw Amara, his eyes filled with emotion. Ma! His voice cracked. Please tell me you don't believe this. Amara stared at him, searching, watching, listening. Years of experience told her one thing immediately. Victor was scared, but he wasn't lying. What happened? She asked. Victor ran a hand over his face. They framed me. The answer came instantly, without hesitation. I swear to God they framed me. Min-jun leaned forward slightly. Tell us everything. And Victor did. Every detail, every conversation, every threat, every strange interaction. Then one statement changed everything. There was a woman. Amara frowned. What woman? Victor swallowed. The week before the fire. His eyes moved between them. She offered me money. The room went still. How much? A lot. Why? To give her access. Amara's pulse accelerated. Access to what? The warehouse. Victor looked sick. I refused. Min-jun's eyes narrowed immediately. Did you get her name? Victor nodded. Slowly, carefully. Then he spoke. And the entire case exploded apart. Because the name wasn't connected to Balogun. The name wasn't connected to Atlantic Freight. The name wasn't connected to any competitor. The name belonged to someone much closer. Someone inside Amara's company. Someone she saw almost every day. Someone she trusted completely. Tund. Silence. Pure silence. Amara stared. No, No, absolutely not. Victor nodded miserably. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't think it mattered. His voice cracked. But when I saw the news, Amara felt sick. Actually sick. Because suddenly everything made sense. The panic, the updates, the convenient discoveries, the access, the information, the timing, everything, every single thing. Tund had been beside her through the entire crisis, watching, guiding, manipulating, and she never saw it. Not once. The arrest happened 20 hours later. The evidence came quickly, too quickly, because once investigators looked in the right direction, everything unraveled. Financial transfers, communications, encrypted messages, secret meetings, years of resentment, years. Apparently Tund had believed he deserved part ownership of the company. When Amara refused, bitterness grew. Then opportunity arrived. Balogun's people approached him. The rest followed. The betrayal hit harder than Samuel's. Harder than Victor's arrest. Harder than the warehouse fire. Because Tund wasn't just an employee. He was family. Or at least she thought he was. The night of the arrest, Amara sat alone in her office. The city lights shimmered beyond the glass. The company was safe. The investigations were ending. The danger was over. So why did she feel empty? A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. She already knew who it was. Come in. The door opened. Min-jun entered. Neither spoke immediately. They didn't need to. He crossed the room quietly, then sat beside her. Close. Not crowding. Just present. Always present. After a long silence, she spoke. I missed it. His eyes moved to her. What? The signs. Her voice was tired. Deeply tired. I should have seen it. No. I should have. No. This time his voice was firmer. She looked at him. Really looked at him. And saw something powerful. Conviction. Absolute conviction. You trusted people. He held her gaze. That is not a flaw. The words landed deeply, because she needed them, more than she realized. For a moment neither spoke. The city continued glowing outside. Cars moved below. Life carried on. Then Amara smiled. Small. Real. The first genuine smile in days. I almost lost everything. Min-jun shook his head. No. What do you mean? His expression softened. You almost lost a company. The distinction mattered. A lot, because suddenly she understood. The company wasn't everything. It never was. Success wasn't everything. Work wasn't everything. The realization felt strangely freeing. She turned toward him. Completely. No walls. No defenses. No exits. For the first time. I love you. The words escaped before fear could stop them. Silence. Then more silence. Not because he didn't know what to say. Because he was absorbing it, feeling it, believing it. His eyes never left hers. Not once. Then he smiled. A real smile. The kind she had spent months earning. The kind that transformed him completely. And quietly he said, I know. Amara immediately laughed. Actually laughed. You know? I was hoping. The laughter grew. For both of them. The tension finally breaking. The months of uncertainty. Gone. The fear. Gone. The waiting. Gone. Then Min-jun reached for her hand. Slowly. Giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. Not this time. Not ever again. His fingers intertwined with hers. Perfectly. Naturally. Like they belonged there. There's something else. Amara raised an eyebrow. What? For the first time all evening, Min-jun looked nervous. Actually nervous. The sight nearly shocked her. You make billion-dollar decisions without blinking. Yes. You face hostile investors. Yes. You negotiate international deals. Yes. So why do you look terrified? His laugh was soft. Then he reached into his pocket. Amara's eyes widened. Immediately. Because suddenly she knew. Oh my God. Min-jun stood. Then did something nobody expected. Not the billionaire. Not the executive. Not the powerful investor. The man. Just the man. He got down on one knee. Amara covered her mouth, instantly crying, actually crying, and she didn't even care. For months he had protected her, believed in her, waited for her, loved her, patiently, faithfully, completely. Now he looked up at her with the same steady eyes that had first found her months ago, and asked the simplest question in the world. Amara Okafor. His voice was calm, certain, full of love. Will you marry me? The answer arrived before he finished speaking. Yes. The word burst out, followed immediately by laughter, and tears, and more laughter. Min-jun slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood, then kissed her. Long, certain, joyful. Everything they had fought for, everything they had survived, everything they had become. Outside the office window, Lagos glittered beneath the night sky. Months later, on a bright morning overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, friends and family gathered as Amara walked toward the man waiting for her. Not because she needed saving, not because she needed rescuing, not because she needed someone to complete her, but because she had found someone willing to walk beside her. Someone strong enough not to fear her strength. Someone patient enough to wait for her heart. Someone who chose her every single day. And she chose him back. As they stood together beneath the Nigerian sky, smiling through happy tears, Amara realized something she wished she had understood years ago. Love wasn't losing independence. Love wasn't surrender. Love wasn't weakness. Real love was partnership. Real love was trust. Real love was finding someone who looked at everything you built and said, I'm not here to take it from you. I'm here to build beside you. And for the first time in a very long time, the future felt bigger than the past. If you made it all the way here, I need you to do something for me right now. Like this video, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe to Untold Afro-Korean Stories, because this is only the beginning of what they've just walked into. Because she thought success would protect her. He thought patience would be enough. But love entered a war neither of them expected. And next, an even more unforgettable story is waiting for you. The end.